Hey everyone, this is darkfireslide. I just got off the heels of watching Angry Joe's latest video about how people are giving him shit for having uploaded a episode of the game The Last Guardian, and how people are sick of his content and they don't think it's very good, and just kind of just generally like saying all these really like nasty things. And as a small content creator, I kind of wanted to I don't know, I felt something in me to kind of speak out and like say something about it. And obviously this video is not going to get as much acclaim as something like, I don't know, like Total Biscuit would make, and he could talk about the exact same thing, say the exact same things that I'm saying, but because his viewer base is established for this kind of thing, he would get a lot more views. And that's the really interesting thing about content creation, I guess. Like, first of all, my mic sucks, so like people who are watching this who haven't watched my content before are gonna like listen and be like, "Oh my god, his mic is terrible. There's that horrible background noise," because my mic is so bad that it picks up like the mini fridge I have near my PC, and it picks up my PC, like the fan, when the PC starts to really like get going. And people have noted that, and people have said that to me before on numerous occasions, like, "I love your content, but God, I can't stand the background noise," or similar things. People have said, I love your content, but God, you need to get better at reading your script, and you need to edit more heavily." And people are really critical about things, and criticism is good, I think, because it teaches us a lot about like what's going wrong, and it helps us understand, like, people are expressing themselves, and that's what I'm doing by making this video. I'm expressing myself, and this video is completely off the cuff. I think I said that at the start, but I didn't have a script planned for this. I just wanted to talk about kind of some of the things that like bother me and that I've been thinking about, especially because I come from a different place than people like Angry Joe does, and people like Total Biscuit does, and even Arumba, who is another or a very big EU4 Paradox player. And the interesting thing to me about content creation, though, on YouTube, there are two major points I wanted to address. One is the prevalence of Twitch and Let's Plays, as well as the struggles that a content creator has when they try to make content that isn't what they normally make. So first, let's talk about like the prevalence of Twitch. So in recent years, at first, people would start monetizing their videos on YouTube, and they would, people who got a lot of views would do that, and they would make enough money that they could actually live off making YouTube videos. But these people are getting like, tens of thousands of views, like for 3 videos a day, getting like 150,000 views a day. Like, those people can make it, but people like me, like, there's no way in hell that I could actually like live off the money that I make off YouTube right now. I'm not privy to discuss in public like what I make, even though I think Arumba did that at one point, due to the YouTube like terms of service and all that. But I basically, like, I would make more money working full time at a fast food restaurant like McDonald's than I would if I just made content. Even when I was uploading 3 videos a day, I wasn't making enough money to like. Now that being said, it is a decent monthly stipend, but certainly not enough to make a living off of. Nowhere close. Like, I'm making about, like I said, not allowed to discuss the exact details because of the terms of service, but and that's partly. Admittedly, I am a smaller channel, but the thing is, like, on Twitch, you can go on, and if you have a popular channel, in one night you can make like several $100s just in donations, and then you get your monthly subscriptions, all of your subscribers, and some channels have upwards of like 1,000, 2,000 subscribers, and they're making $5,000, $10,000 a month, and that's not even like an obscene amount of people, right? Like, obviously bigger Twitch channels are going to have even more people, and the thing about it is Twitch is so much easier to do than YouTube is, because in Twitch you just play the game. You don't typically do things like reviews live. You don't typically do content like this. live, and you don't typically like podcasts are kind of an exception to that rule, but even then, it's a much different experience than listening to a YouTube video. And I think, honestly, I think a lot of the YouTube content creators, people like Arumba and Angry Joe, wish that they were able to just do Let's Plays and that their fan base still liked them for it. But, you know, Angry Joe was getting called basically like a sellout, and, you know, like he's like, oh, he's getting lazy because he doesn't want to spend, like, you know, hours and hours and hours and hours creating, you know, just to get out like an extra review every month on a game that like they want to see. Now, I get that, you know, I'm somebody who I love to see like reviews for games that I played and like that I liked, and that's another interesting thing about that as well is, you know, people who like a game, they play it, they like it, they love it, and then they like want to read a review for it, and it's not necessarily because they want like to know what other people think. It's mostly that they want to like validate their own opinion, or they want to argue with people who disagree with them. And I find that very interesting because I'm somebody who likes to have more, you know, rational debates and actually come to like a consensus opinion rather than, you know, arguments based on like, you know, oh well, I liked it, so your opinion must be wrong. Like that's not typically how I operate when it comes to things like games and music and art. And yeah, I mean I'm going to school to be an editor, for example, and you know, so for me, everything that I do, everything that I read and discuss is very much on an objective level. Now, I still do have the subjective mindset of like, you know, well, do I like the subject matter in the first place? Like, for example, if I read a story about, and I'm comparing mediums here, and I guess I'll give two examples. So as an editor, for example, of writing, I can say that, like, you know, if I read a story about someone working in a grocery store and I found the subject to be, like, very mundane, but the writing was excellent and it was still, like, compelling, then even though the story didn't interest me, I would still objectively say, like, this is a good story, because it's, you know, it's well crafted, it's well constructed, the wordplay is there. Likewise with games, you know, there are games out there. Great example of this is Undertale. Undertale has a great art style, great music. It has a, you know, great combat system. But I've tried playing Undertale and I didn't really care for it because my personal taste lies more with historical games like EU4 and the entire Paradox collection, as it were. And so, yeah, it's really interesting, like, trying to find that, like, divide of, like, content, basically, and seeing people get really upset about, like, reviews about games and how, you know, emotion-based a lot of their arguments are. And one thing that I'm grateful for is that most everybody on this channel so far has been very logical and rational, and yet also really fun in the Let's Plays. And I feel grateful that I actually have, like, a, you know, Let's Play going that people love watching because... I mean, I'll say it. You know, Let's Plays are a lot easier to make than, for example, my top 10 videos, which I have to, you know, edit. And admittedly, I don't do a very good job of it because I'm not very experienced with editing. And so it's nice to be able to just, you know, play the game and talk about it and have fun. Because at the end of the day, that's what we like to do the most, right? Like, we like to actually play the game. And I don't think that's different because you're a reviewer than if you're just a player. That's something very different about our medium compared to something like writing or compared to something like art, you know, like painting, for example. You know, and oftentimes an art critic will not have himself created a masterpiece. He simply knows what he knows from reading about art and, you know, going and seeing different art and seeing what people say is good and forming his own opinion based on what others have said and as well as his own personal taste. And in video games, it's kind of a different story because a lot of the times we ourselves don't make the game, but we play the game and we can share that enjoyment of playing it with other people, and we can still review the game even though we haven't actually ourselves made the game. And obviously, like, game developers talking about making their own games is always super interesting because, you know, I often hear an argument, and I've even said this myself about, like, some games that I've gotten, like, really frustrated at. I'm like, have the devs played their own game? like there's like this glaring issue that you think is obvious, and to the devs they just you're just like, wow, how could anyone play this and think that this is okay, or, you know, similar thoughts to that, for example. And And obviously I'm kind of rambling. That's the whole point of this video, is I'm just like giving a reaction video because I wanted to, I don't know, I felt really inspired to say something about this, and I haven't really even talked about Angry Joe himself that much. But the final point I want to make about like Twitch streaming versus YouTube is it is so much easier to make money on Twitch. It is so much easier to make money doing Let's Plays than it ever is doing like top 10 videos that you have to heavily edit and heavily script. In the time that it takes me to make a top 10 video, I could easily have made like 8 episodes to a Let's Play, if not more. And overall, those Let's Plays are probably going to net me more money, is the funny part. And so I have to ask myself, you know, and I think all other content creators ask themselves as well, like, if I can get enough people to like me on Twitch where, A, I'm actually playing the game and having fun and not having to sit there and script things all the time, as opposed to having to sit down and create like a script and heavily edit everything that I make, you know, it's kind of a capitalism thing, right? Like, why would I do the harder thing for less money when I could do the easier thing for more money? I think that's just a simple logical progression. That's why so many people are flocking to Twitch instead of YouTube, because YouTube doesn't pay that much. And the problem is, Google can't really, in their defense, Google can't really afford to pay content creators more, because and my main source here is Arumba. He in his most recent vlog, like a agenda video, he talks about how Google is losing money on YouTube, and YouTube is mostly just a platform to gain them like prestige and get people to use their products, like, you know, Chrome and you know, obviously the Google search engine itself. And that's such a great point, and such an interesting point, that like YouTube isn't able to pay as much, but because of the way Twitch runs, because it's all like donation based, then people can donate as much as they want. And that's why I myself am considering setting up a Patreon, is because I know that people want to pay me more than like less than a fraction of a cent to watch my videos. I know that people appreciate the content that I make, and I know that they would like to pay me and see me succeed, you know, and compensate me for entertaining them. And that's not like a completely like crazy thing, I don't think. I think that paying someone for entertaining you is reasonable. Now, from a purely like logical perspective on the subject, like, obviously if you can get content for free, why would you pay for it? You know, I guess that's the same argument that exists for piracy, though obviously game piracy is like, you run the risk of getting a virus if you're not careful, and even then sometimes it still happens. I haven't done it much myself. I just, you know, have talked to other people about it, which of course is what a pirate would say, but yeah, it's you know, why would you ever pay for something if you could get it for free is the thing. And when it comes to content creation, though, like, we are gifted and blessed, I think, to live in a world where we can actually, you know, give people money for that, instead of the only way to make money off these videos being ad revenue. And I think that's really important. I think that paying content creators to do, you know, to first of all to entertain you would be the main thing, right? Like, you're paying for a service, basically, if you want to think of it that way. It'd be the same as paying to go see a comedian live or something, which is, you know, obviously absolutely worth it, or paying to go see like a concert. The main difference being that, like, you don't have to pay a content creator to see their stuff. You don't have to ever pay, and a lot of people don't. A lot of people have never supported a content creator. A lot of people have never donated or subscribed to a Twitch channel. A lot of people have never donated to a Patreon, and like I get it. You know, I'm not trying to like vilify people who don't support content creators. I understand that like I myself am tight on money. Like, the part of the reason my mic is crappy is because it's a $20 headset. Like, I'll come out and say that like straight up. I never thought I would get this far in my YouTube career, and now I'm finding myself like I need to upgrade my tech. Like, I really need to get like I need to get a new microphone, like one of those actual professional microphones that is not like 2 feet away from the face so that people can't hear my lips smacking. I need to, and most importantly, what I'm trying to do over Christmas, but even that's proving to be difficult, is getting enough money to actually upgrade my PC, because I'm about 4 generations behind on my graphics card right now. I'm running a 670 GTX NVIDIA card, and it got the job done 4 years ago when I bought this PC, but I first of all, I made the mistake of getting it pre-built. That's my bad for being lazy and not wanting to build my own, but also it's really like running, it's out of date now is the problem, and so I need to upgrade that first. But and that's the thing, like I don't make enough money from like YouTube and my crummy retail job to like pay for that on top of like going to school, and like going to school is more important to me because I don't know if this is going to lead to a career. That being said, like I hope it does, like fingers crossed that like I make it big and like Shenmue or Roomba, and that I could do this for a living, because I think that would be fucking awesome, if I'm being frank. Pardon my French, but at the same time, I'm like kind of in a predicament because YouTube doesn't make me very much money, and I don't have the means by which to live stream. And I would love to live stream because people like my Let's Play content, and I think that I could do that just as well live as I do in my recordings. Right. So the first thing I wanted to talk about was the Twitch issue, and the second thing I wanted to talk about was diversity of content on YouTube channels. So Angry Joe is obviously not the only person to have gotten a lot of shit for trying something new. Now, as gamers, I think we all love to play new games. Granted, some of us have like 3,000 plus hours in a specific game, and God knows streamers do, obviously. And even everyday people have just played games to the point of like oblivion. I myself, like my most recorded amount of hours is actually here in EU4, where I've got just slightly under 900 hours. And honestly, when I stopped playing EU4 for myself, I was at about 700 hours. So I rarely ever play EU4 for myself anymore. I mostly just do it for YouTube. And people love my EU4 content. That's why they come here. That's what they want to watch. And it's really interesting. Like I tried recently to, not too far off, do a Crusader Kings 2 Let's Play. And there were some issues because people didn't find it as entertaining for a couple of reasons. For starters, it wasn't EU4, and so a lot of people immediately dismissed it. A lot of people just don't like Crusader Kings because they don't find it interesting. They don't like the game. I myself even, have some issues and reservations about Crusader Kings 2. I still like the game a lot, even though I haven't played it that much. But Paradox, I can only play so much Paradox Grand Strategy at a time, basically, before I get worn out. And the other reason is that I introduced this mod that I thought really like enhanced the game experience, right? Like that was my personal opinion, and that was the anime portraits mod. That like it was really interesting because the episode after I introduced that, the viewership for the series like plummeted. Like people really didn't want to watch that. Not interestingly, not a lot of them left dislikes, which I assumed was going to happen, but like the viewership just completely dropped off for it. Like people just did not want to watch Crusader Kings 2, especially with the anime faces. And like that's fair enough. If you don't want to watch something, like obviously I can't sit here and like cry about it. But at the same time, like I think it illustrates my point about like you want to try something new, you want to do something that you want to do as a content creator. But if your viewership just isn't there, then nobody's gonna watch it, and then you stop making that content. Which leads me back to Angry Joe and like why I feel so like my heart goes out to him because he has such a massive viewer base, and to see like he wanted to play The Last Guardian. He wanted to experience the game because it was new. Everyone was talking about it. It's a very pretty looking game, very interesting game concept, even though it wasn't executed very well from my own understanding. And people just blasted him for it. They went on like, oh, this content is shit, you should make more reviews, and like it was the only thing that they cared about his content was that he was making these reviews, and obviously like the reviews are of a higher quality because he spent more time actually making them. But the thing is, as a content creator, like you need those views during the week. You need to get like more consistent views and more like consistent people watching. But because Angry Joe set up his channel initially as a review platform, basically, he has a really hard time as a one-man show trying to make these like really long 30-minute reviews with like parodies in it, and now he's kind of dug himself into a hole where he can't really like cop out and start doing Let's Plays. And I shouldn't say that about Let's Plays, because I think Let's Plays are a perfectly valid form of like entertainment. Like I myself have grinded through people's like Let's Plays as I'm marathoning a game myself. And I think that Let's Plays are completely valid, medium. Some people find them really drab and boring, and like I can understand why. My own father about the subject, he's like I just don't understand why you would ever watch somebody else play a game when you could just play it yourself. And like I guess some people see that in a similar light, like, and that's why they only care about things like reviews and parodies and, you know, things of that nature. And like, that's totally understandable. Like, but I do think that Let's Plays, even if they are the B material, so to speak, I still think they're very valuable, and some people make the Let's Play like A material. Like the top YouTubers and streamers make the usual content entertaining, and that's why they're so successful. And so it really just, I don't know, it really bummed me out to see, like, I love Angry Joe. I used to watch him, like, religiously back when Mass Effect 3 came out, and I could go on for ages about Mass Effect 3 and, like, what went wrong with that game. I'm still pissed off even after the extended ending, but I digress. I just, it was, I don't know, my heart goes out to him for just how much backlash he got for making, like, a first impressions video. And I'm like, that shouldn't happen. Like, maybe the video itself was bad. I only watched about half of it, but I didn't think it was like nothing, surely nothing worse than anything I've made on this channel. Not to say my content is bad, but, you know, understanding that, like, it is a Let's Play, and it is, like, a first impressions video, and, like, not only just the sheer amount of, like, dislikes and how nasty the comments were, and people being like, this is it, this is the fall of Angry Joe's channel. It's falling down, it's burning, it's blazing, and the ship's sinking, Captain, like all these other, you know, all the other euphemisms you can possibly muster about the subject, and, you know, people came up with them, and just talked shit about him, talked shit about his girlfriend, and just, in general, treated him like shit for having the audacity to play a video game, instead of, like, making this really elaborate review that takes, like, weeks to, you know, edit and process and upload, and, like, I don't know, I found that really distressing that, like, so many people treated him like shit. Like, is this really, like, the online community? I mean, obviously, like, I've been on the internet for a while. I know that people are shitty, but it's still sad to see, like, somebody get torn apart like that. And then for him, like, I don't know, it just seems so humiliating to me for him to have to make a video about it where he talks about how he's like, okay, guys, I'm gonna try to change the channel. He's like apologizing for his life because this is his living, this is his lifeblood, and people are slamming him because he had the audacity to play a game. And now I'm interested to see if, like, anybody comes from that, you know, subject and wants to, like, you know, talk shit to me now because I had the audacity to, like, speak out and try to, you know, defend him. But I don't know, something about it just seemed really, like, off to me, and it just seems like maybe because the platform is free, people are getting really entitled about what they expect in terms of quality. I think that they should understand that, like, if you know, and this is more of like an Aruma thing where he talked about in his agendas video, but, like, you know, Google could just decide to stop paying content creators permanently. It would be a bad move, I think. I think that they should pay content creators. Because then everyone is going to migrate to Twitch, basically. But I don't know. It was just really disheartening, and I obviously, like, I don't even know if anyone from Angry Joe's channel is going to see this, or anyone from my channel is even going to care about it. But I just really wanted to speak out and, like, say something, because it was bothering me that the reaction to him playing a game that, you know, people didn't want to see, I guess, or that, you know, they wanted something else, and so rather than being, like, reasonable about it and understanding that it takes a long time to make that kind of content, they lashed out in a really horrible way. And I don't know, like, I don't like this dehumanization of people. And another thing is in his video where he talks about, like, the comments that, like, the one I just got done watching, he talks about how he had, like, depression, and, like, I myself suffer from depression, and it's this really horrible feeling where, like, sometimes you wake up and you don't have energy to do, like, literally anything. Like, it's not like it's like oh, I'm feeling sad and so I'm not going to do anything. It's this complete and utter lack of energy. Like, you wake up and you hate yourself, first of all, because you feel like a worthless piece of shit, and then you act like one because you don't have energy to do anything else. And so you lay in bed all day and you watch YouTube videos and you don't do anything remotely useful. You don't check your bank account. You don't get signed up for classes like I probably should have already. You don't do things that are, like, necessary to your life. You call off work, or sometimes don't even do that. In the case of a content creator, more importantly, you don't get up to make a video, or you make a video because you feel like your viewers expect one, not necessarily because you want to make one. And I don't know. I think it's really sad the way that people have reacted to him and treated him, and I think that we should all be like I think that there should be more respect for content creators in general, because everyone has this perception that I even said in this, like, it's easy to make Let's Plays, but at the same time, it's the functional equivalent of, like, you know, writing a piece of like writing not necessarily literature, but like writing a book while simultaneously like talking to people about the book, or maybe a better comparison is like reading the book but giving, you know, commentary about the book while reading the book, or watching a movie and then giving commentary about the movie while watching the movie. It's not easy. You have to, you know, the entertainment part, the entertainment aspect of that is so much more than just like loading up a game and playing it. And people have even asked me, I've seen a lot of other people ask, like, how do I even get like a YouTube channel running? And like, one thing is you just straight up have to be entertaining. You have to be able to carry a conversation with yourself. You have to be able to talk at length about things without any prompt whatsoever. You have to be able to comment on the game in an intelligent way, and you have to be good at the video game too most of the time. Especially in the case of games like EU4 here, where if you don't know how to at least play the game, then people aren't really going to watch, because it's not fun to watch somebody stumble around in a game like this. Like, oh, where's the menu? How do I core a province? What is this pop up? Like, it's just not as entertaining to watch as someone who is, you know, I don't know. I'll give myself as an example because I'm self-inflating, I guess, but you know, like the first episode of my Byzantium Let's Play, where I gave a speech, like a rallying speech, like, you know, this is the end of Rome, and we're going to rise up, the Purple Phoenix will rise, and we'll take back all of Greece and Anatolia, we will reforge, and we will form a new Eastern Roman Empire, and like getting people really inspired. But it's easy to say, like, oh, it's easy to just record you playing a video game, but at the same time, it's difficult to be entertaining, and that's the cusp of it, right? Like, that's the part about content creation that a lot of people don't grasp, I think. Even though it, like physically, yes, all I'm doing is playing a video game while hitting like a record button and then hitting stop record when I get to a certain point. Like obviously on that level it's very easy, but to have the mental energy to be entertaining and to, you know, provide, you know, consistent commentary that is going to draw people's attention and you know, frankly entertain them, that's the difficult part. And you know, I think that there should be a lot more respect for content creators than there is right now, because there just isn't a lot of respect for content creators right now, I don't think. People outside the industry sure as hell don't respect them. Like, you know, you tell people, like if you walk around the street, tell people, like, yeah, I play video games for a living, people are going to, like, scoff at you. It'll be like, when you're going to get a real job, you know? You know, what's your career? What are your long-term prospects? Are you going to be working in this industry in, like, 10 years? Like, you know, questions like that are hard to answer for a content creator, and we're pioneers in a way. We're trying something that has never been done before, and I think it's wonderful. Honestly, I'm so happy that content creation in its current form exists, and I think we should all be thankful to live in an age where A, we can watch it for free if we have internet, and B, that we can do something we really love, which is, you know, video games, or even things that aren't video games in the cases of a lot of other YouTube channels. You know, it's not just about video games. Content creation is about, you know, creating guides and tutorials and top 10s about literally everything under the sun. And we should be thankful for that. We should be, you know, every day we should be thanking content creators for what they do. And on my channel, people do thank me consistently, and I thank them for supporting me, and I think that kind of relationship is really important. And now how do we handle criticism, though? And this will be like the last tirade I go on. Not that I've really been raging or anything. This is just kind of an off the cuff vlog, but when it comes to like criticizing people, I think that we need to step back whenever we feel like we need to do that. And like, let's use Angry Joe's video for an example. So I'm an Angry Joe fan, and like hypothetically, I mean I actually am, but this is a hypothetical situation. So I'm an Angry Joe fan, and I came to his channel to watch, his reviews, and you know I watched all the reviews. I went through the entire backlog, you know, the entire like complete series, because I find them to be very entertaining with the parodies and with his very critical and on the spot commentary, and of course the yelling and the screaming, which is absolutely hilarious, and especially when you agree with it and you're like, fuck yeah, he's right, and middle finger up to the industry and like all that kind of thing, and it's great to watch. And but then you like watch his you watch his Let's Play, and you're not used to like the type of content that a Let's Play is, and the more relaxed atmosphere that a Let's Play has typically, and especially when a gamer is playing a game for the first time and they're really trying to like take in the game and understand it. And so what you should do, I think, is when you see a new video like that, you go in and you watch and you say things like, hey, this wasn't really my cup of tea. I wish you would make more reviews. Just keep it simple like that. But what people do instead is they go in there and they're like, fuck you, Joe, your content is shit now, it's terrible, I don't want to watch it anymore, unsubbed, I'll see you in hell, like all this kind of shit that people are just like this vitriol. And I think it's awful. Like, how can you feel good about yourself when you say something like that? Like I understand being invested in content, for example. If you're watching, like TV shows are a great example of this, where, like, you're really invested, and then you get to the end of the series, and it completely flops, and you're pissed about it. But, is it right to go to, like, the actors and be like, hey, fuck you for being in this series, and having the show end this way, like, go kill yourself, like, fuck you and your family, like, you're part of a sinking ship, and, like, that shit's really demoralizing. If anything, if I were Angry Joe, I wouldn't want to make content for these assholes. I wouldn't want to sit there and be like he's acquiescing because I guess he's a better person than I am, but he's like, okay, I'm going to try to dial back the content, and not even dial back, he's going to try to push out more content, but also try to create a better, a more consistent viewing of the primary thing that people want to watch. And I don't know, I found it really upsetting and distressing the way that people treated Angry Joe for playing The Last Guardian. And I hope I don't know, this was just kind of a ramble. It was never meant to. I'm sorry for the notification. I'm a complete scrub when it comes to content creation, as you can see. But I don't know, I think that we should be more forgiving, and especially in light of the Christmas season, we should be, more enlightened about it, and criticize content in a way that doesn't devalue the person in general, because, as someone who suffers from depression, like it is the hardest thing to, like, swallow that cup, so to speak, to make a video and have people just hate it so vehemently. Like, I can only imagine how awful that would feel, and how, like, demoralizing that would be to be in his position. So all I want to say is, especially if you've made it to this point in the video, what I really want to say is have more respect for content creators. Don't insult them or their families if, like, they made a video that you don't like, because it's a video at the end of the day. That's all it is. And let's make this industry something real. Let's not turn content creation into this, cesspit. I think we owe it to ourselves for that. I think that this could become something incredible. This could become the new medium. When people talk about classics, they'll talk about, like Michelangelo's paintings. They'll talk about books like Heart of Darkness. And then they'll talk about, like, somebody's Let's Plays, or like, for just a funny example, like they'll think like, oh yes, the Watch Mojo top 10s of 2016, a good classic viewing, and obviously that's going to stir up controversy for mentioning them, but I think that we have the power to create it to be something like that if we work together and have more respect for the people creating the content, because I've noticed lately so many people just breaking down. And, like, Arumba, especially, like, Arumba's, I don't know, like, a lot of people are saying, like, oh, your content's shit, and it's falling apart, and I don't like watching it anymore, and that's really not fair to him, because, like, he's been going through some shit, man. Like, he almost went through a divorce. He's found out that he's been suffering from like severe anxiety his entire life and didn't even realize it. Like, God, that's fucking frustrating. And then he's got kids to deal with too, and then people call him a shitty parent. Like why is that your business? Why is that the thing you care about when it comes to content creation? If you're upset about the video, talk about the video. Say what is wrong with the video, not what is wrong with a Roomba. Okay? That's all I'm saying. Have a little more respect for content creators as human beings. Have more respect for people in general, actually. You know, we're never going to get anywhere if we constantly breed this environment of, you know, people are shit, and their opinions are shit, and their families are shit, and their lives are shit, and, like, you know, like, and saying things like, oh, he has depression, what a pussy, like, go fuck yourself. Like, honestly, like, I apologize for the language again, but, like, it just, I don't know, it gets me really fired up to see people treat each other that way. And obviously, like, the trolls are going to love this video, like, hey, lol, Kappa, let's say something funny about this. Like, I don't know. I'm getting really rambly at this point, so I think I'm going to go ahead and, like, bring this to a close. So, just be more forgiving, guys. Be more reasonable and logical, and if you're going to criticize something, talk about what you're criticizing, not the person who made it. That's all I'm saying, especially when it comes to content creation of any kind, including mediums outside of YouTube and Twitch, including books and including art. You know, don't talk so much shit about the person who made it. Talk more about the art itself, and I think that we'll be in a much better place when it comes to content creation, because telling somebody that their family sucks isn't as helpful as saying, like, well, you could work more on not saying as much, as so many people are, you know, happy to remind me. Things like that, I think, make for a much better viewing experience for everybody, and we can clean up together. We can clean up the YouTube comments if we, you know, stop doing that if we stop saying those kinds of things to content creators. I think that, you know, it starts with you, right? So, for all my viewers and anybody watching this, I just want to say, do your best to be a better person. Do your best to be more critical of the right things, and to be more sympathetic with the people who make them. And we can make the world a better place, and we can make our YouTube and our content a better place for everybody. And I think that's a good place to leave you off. So Godspeed, you brave souls, and I'll see you guys on the next one.